where do you see the differences of your fatherhood compared to your father as you understood it?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest difference is that I try to be more available for what my boys are doing. One thing was, it's huge for me. It might not be huge for a lot of other people, but I by the time I had gotten to high school, I had gotten out of wanting to really play any sports. But my oldest son, he's a big boy. Right now he's huge. He's like 6'3", 240, but he is a big dude. And so he plays football. And when he was growing up, he was playing Pop Warner. And I got tired of sitting on the sideline, but I'd never played football. And I just thought to myself one day, and one of the coaches had said, we'd had so many conversations about football, and I'd watched it and played it really my whole life. And he's like, hey, I need more coaches. Will you help out? I'm like, absolutely. Because I didn't need a degree in football or to have played football to be involved in my son's life. And I wanted to be involved in other kids' lives, because there are so many kids that they show up there and they're coming from a broken home, and part of their rebellious spirit is because they don't have anybody to help shape and guide them. And not that I wanted to play a father figure for all these kids, but if I could do my part to help some kid, you never know the impact of the one word you say to a kid when he's 8 or 9 years old, because sometimes that stuff will stick with you for life.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to be more available. The availability of my time for my boys it just wasn't something. My dad had always been kind of preoccupied in whatever he wanted to do. It's so funny when we talk about, like, you had asked me earlier about what my prayer is. We can get to this later, but I'm still struggling with that interpersonal relationship with my dad, even to this day. So just being available and knowing when I get to the point where I feel anxiety or anger towards him, it's like, okay, hold on, time out. You remember how you felt on the other side of that. So march your butt back in there, Dad, and go apologize to your kid. Go wrap your arms around him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you guys have that where it comes up a lot, where you will be the one that takes the first step to kind of mend the anger in there. Yeah, I definitely try to do that. And the funny thing is, my oldest son is really nothing like me. He's more like his mom. He's very kind of quiet in most circumstances, but my youngest son is just like me. He will fight on everything. You tell him to do something and he's going to do the exact opposite. So I've got two different relationships at home with my boys. Like, me and my oldest, we're like best buds. It's like we're just, our relationship has grown. Not that we'll never not be father and son, but now where it's kind of like, okay, well, we're kind of friends now. My youngest, it's like, it's harder. He's more stronger in his personality, in his conviction. When he wants something, he wants it, and he doesn't back down. And I don't back down. And then you have that, and you find yourself arguing with a 9-year-old, like, how did this kid get so flippin' smart? Like, what is going on here? So I've had to mend that fence probably more with my younger one than my older one. It was even the other day, I can't remember, we got into something. It's just a kid thing. Hey, go clean up your room. And it becomes, you're arguing with him for 20 minutes. It's like, just, if you would have just cleaned your room from the beginning, we wouldn't be doing this. So yeah, I find myself getting more upset than I should be. And then it's like, hey, let's sit down. You can't talk to your mom this way. Don't talk to me this way. We're still your parents. You're in our house. Like, we don't play that game, which is one thing I'm very glad my wife and I see eye to eye on the core things, especially about our boys. So yeah, it's one of those things. Let's sit down with him, put my arm around him, tell him I love him, instruct him in a more kind way that I know I would have wanted when I was younger. Man, that's awesome right there, to be able to have kind of that reference point where you can put yourself in there, kind of put the reset button, the pause button in there, and then, like, okay, let me come back with, like, a better spirit to work it out with. Because, like you said, like, So a lot of people are really still just trying to figure out what the heck am I doing with this thing.
Yeah.
None of it comes with like a manual. There's a lot of like suggested things now. Like, these are best practices, but it's so much easier to read it and watch something on it than it is to like actually quell that, like, especially when you feel like it's like a righteous anger, to quell that and instead to say, okay, as justified as I would be to sit in this and to be in this in order to teach a pertinent lesson, I need to embody something that I know is more important to be able to pass that on and have that be the memory that they think of me with.
And the other part that's funny about that is because sometimes I can get loud, and sometimes I'll yell, and my dad's voice comes out of my mouth, and it's like, wait a second, let's pause, and then let's rethink our strategy here.